What's up, everybody? This is the Ikesinspirations podcast, and today I have a great guest named Mike Sheridan. Mike has been doing great work helping other people interpret dreams and learn more about themselves through dreams. So I'm excited to have Michael on to talk about dreams. So Michael, how did you come about finding yourself in this field of work?
It was kind of interesting. I had a spiritual awakening that I didn't expect. I suddenly started seeing spirits. And I was an atheist at the time, so it kind of ruined that worldview that I used to have. And I was then on a journey like everybody else, I think, who wakes up. It's like, okay, what is life about? Is there more of a meaning than what I previously thought before? And so I did lots of courses and read every book that was around. This is 34 years ago or so, before the internet. And it was kind of a different landscape then, you know. What you talk about on your show would have been some of the topics wouldn't have really been welcome. But anyway, I was searching, and eventually I went to a dream class, and I didn't even want to go to it. My sister wanted to go, but she didn't want to go on her own, and I went along to heckle, and I submitted a dream anonymously, and they used my dream in the class, and they described me to a T, and it wasn't pretty. Like, they weren't describing a nice guy, but it was accurate. And it really, my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe how accurate it was. And they weren't just showing, like, these are your issues. It's like, here's the issue. Here's where it comes from. Here's what you need to do about it. And it was all in there, including the fact that I was born by cesarean section. And this is way back before it was just done because the doctor wanted to do it. And it just caught me. I was like, oh, my God, I'm doing all these classes. I'm reading all this material, and I'm not really getting good answers. Or at least they're good, but they're not the answers I really need. You know what I mean? Because they're not my particular issue. And I discovered then that my dreams have all the answers I ever need. And I just threw myself wholeheartedly into it. It was quite an amazing thing.
So yeah, you spoke about, having a spiritual awakening and how that you seem like you're an atheist. What effect did your spiritual awakening have on you? And can you talk a little bit more about that awakening?
Yeah, well, so for me, I started seeing spirits, and I had 2 near-death experiences way back, actually, just before I was born. My mom ended up in hospital at 4.5 months, and I was born at 7 months, and she was like not allowed to move or anything like that. And they nearly lost me twice, and I knew about that, but I never put much stock into it. And I know now that was the huge link. So because of those, I had the ability to see the spirit world, but I had lost the connection to it. But I started doing a meditation. I did the Silva mind control meditation, and I was doing it for about a year. And I was doing a lot of it. I was doing about 3.5 hours a day. And I suddenly then started seeing spirits, and I didn't like it. I didn't believe they existed. So it was like, it would really threw my worldview. But I have a big advantage. A lot of people, they have an awakening and they're like, an epiphany or whatever, and it's like, I want to know, is there more to life? I knew there was more to life because I'm looking right at it. I know there's a spirit world, and there's no question about that. But my issue then was, okay, I can see it, but I can't hear it. I can't, it's a one-way conversation. And it took me a long time to figure out how to have a proper conversation with spirits and things like that. But yeah, it was funny how it happened. I didn't like it. In fact, I screamed the house down, and it took me about 2 years or more to get comfortable with seeing spirits.
Wow. Gotcha. And so it sounds like, dreams have had a significant impact on you, and now you're helping other people interpret dreams, which is cool. I've been fascinated with dreams lately, and I've been having a few of them myself. And so I'm curious, what does your dream work look like, and how do you help other people interpret dreams?
Well, first of all, I have to say, I saw your podcast where you said your favorite Bible story is Joseph. So
yeah,
okay, cool. This guy's into dreams.
Yeah.
But so basically, it was because dreams helped me so much, and it was a combination of things. Regression therapy, where you regress to an earlier time in your life and you can see the issues and how they affected you at a young age or whatever. And then counseling and dream work, which allows you basically look at the conversation between your higher self and your soul, because your dreams are a message between your higher self and your soul.
Mm.
When we look at them, we're kind of intercepting that message. Like during a dream, we fully know what it means.
Yeah.
And we're in the dream too, as kind of like the conscious actor in the dream, but so is our subconscious, and so is all the reasons that we're saying no to the message of a dream. And so when we look at the dream, we can see what we're meant to be doing in our life and what issues cause us to hold back from whatever the next step is meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad that you mentioned that the Joseph Bible study thing, because I'm a devout Christian, and I've been reading the Bible quite consistently. However, one of the things that resonates with me the most is the story of Joseph and how he's able to interpret dreams, and how he had a dream at a very young age, telling his brothers that, hey, one day you guys are going to bow down to me, and it's no disrespect. This is just what my dream happened. And then it eventually did happen. So, that always resonated with me, and I always found the character of Joseph interesting. And so, like, what are some tendencies or some interesting things that you have seen from your dreams, or perhaps other clients' dreams, that you were like, wow, like they were that just manifested in something fascinating,
So the main thing there's lots of reasons you can look at a dream, and my favorite reason is what causes life to not be fulfilling, what causes the misery in your life. And your dreams are going to show it, and they're going to tell you what you need to do it. And one of the things that I've learned from all the work over 33 years is that the obstacles in your path are meant to be a catalyst for your growth. They're not there just to be an obstacle. So we have issues that we already have, and we come here to work on those. Like our life is about developing our talents, working on ourselves, getting to the point where we shine brightly. The best parts of us shine.
Mm-hmm.
And some people rise to that challenge and others don't. Other people drink, they hit an obstacle and they start drinking or whatever they get into. But the clients I attract, of course, are people who are into self-help or personal growth and that space. And they're like, what do I need to do about this? And that is a hard thing to do. And the beauty of dreams is it'll tell you, like, this is the issue. Here's what went on. This is the parent it's connected to. And this set a paradigm view of your world. Maybe you weren't loved by mom. And that sounds very simple. But if you didn't get mom's unconditional love at the start of your life, then you can go through life feeling like you don't belong. Like even when you're in a group of friends, you're feeling like a chameleon. Like nobody knows that I don't feel I fit in.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the right answers. I'm going to do the right things that make people think that I'm, everything's okay with me, but it isn't. But you end up looking at the world from the outside and wondering why you're different. And it's all just because you didn't get that love. And dreams show that everything ultimately boils down to either masculine or feminine energy being out of balance. And feminine energy is all about your inner world, your philosophy of life, your feelings, your ability to care and nurture for others. Masculine energy is about your outer world, your ability to set boundaries, to feel confident, to own a stage, to feel like you have a value, and many more. Like there's lots of traits in each one. And we usually have an obstacle in our life that blocks us from something we really want. And the idea is that we want that thing so much, like I want a great relationship, I want a great career, or I want to be loved, or I want to develop this gift and use it to help other people. But it's meant to be that the desire for using that or getting to that goal is strong enough to make us deal whatever we need to deal with to overcome the obstacle. And by overcoming the obstacle, then we grow. We become a stronger or a better version of ourselves.
All right. So I learned, you mentioned the word fulfillment.
Right.
And that word stood out to me as you were speaking. I really want to hone in on that word. I'm sure you yourself, being a dream interpreter, probably had a lot of dreams. I'm curious to learn, like, how has your dreams brought fulfillment in your life? Like, do you have a specific dream that added a lot of creativity to your life and added a lot of excitement? If so, can you please speak about that?
I've followed so many of my dreams. In the beginning, a lot of it was working on improving aspects of my health, improving things that like I was a vindictive, angry young male, right?
Oh, okay.
And I was that way until I was about 27. And my dreams showed me what I needed to do to fix that. And so people who knew me before and knew me after, like they're like, you're two different people. What happened here? And it was all from looking at what my dream said and working on the issues that my dream said needed to be worked on. And that's the obstacle I talk about when, like, the obstacle's in the way, fix that. And when you fix it, you have that gain for the whole rest of your life. So I got all of that from my dreams, but they also showed me what my abilities were, like the ability to see spirits, to do energy healing, to do many other things. But one of the things they showed very early on, I had a dream where I was being told I was going into Canada. I lived in Ireland at the time, so never been to Canada, and I was crossing the border, and the border official said, all I can offer you is $600,000 working in the music industry. Now, interpreted, that dream means my guide is telling me to work in the channeling field, because that's what music industry represents in a dream, and it will pay me great dividends. And I didn't understand it. And of course, Canada's connected to it in some way. Well, many years later, like 25 years later, I hired a company to help me with my business. I decided to drop out of doing cryptography and software engineering. That's what I worked at for many, many years. And it pays really well. And I discussed it with my wife, and I said, like, what can I scale back to that will be enough of an income for us to be able to still afford the house that we're in and all that sort of stuff. And she did a really good job too. So that was cool. But I hired this company to help me make that transition. But it worked enormously. Ultimately, they helped me develop a channeling program that I now have. I teach people how to channel, and it really pays well. I make multiple times what I used to make in the software industry from doing dreams. So like dreams and channeling, it is so fulfilling for me that it's amazing. It wasn't always that way. I had to work at it. You know, I had a long ramp when I said I'm going to go into this full time, and I burned through that ramp. Then I got an inheritance, and I burned through that. I mean, and then I used every credit card I could get, and eventually this Canadian company turned it around. And I always find it interesting that I had that dream so many years before.
Yeah.
And it was so accurate that was the space I needed to get into. That would be fulfilling in a way that I didn't understand. And that would help me pay the bills.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're doing work that you find a lot more fulfilling, which is so awesome, man. It's something that I'm striving to do, and a lot of my listeners are striving to do as well. And I'm glad that you're able to do that. However, it sounds like there was a lot of obstacles that took not to overcome before you get there. And it reminds me of this quote: "Is like, everyone is jealous of what you got, but no one is jealous of how you got it."
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, you know, you probably did a lot of work to get to where.
Oh yeah.
What did that work consist of?
Well, and one thing that's interesting is there's no frame of reference given to you to understand how to be an entrepreneur, how to run your own business. We all go through school, whether it's in the States or in Europe. We're programmed to be good employees,
Sure,
to have skill sets that an employer would need. And that's great if that's what you're going for, if that's what your aim is. But if you're trying to do something on your own, it's very different for you to stand in front of people and say, this is what I can do for you. This is how I can help you in your life, and so on. And that takes a lot of work. And it took a lot of work on my side anyway, to understand what you need to do, how you need to do it in a way that's authentic and genuine and doesn't, you know, I always equated sales, for instance, to be like used car salesmen, kind of sleazy, and that's unfair to car salesmen.
Yeah.
But I had that feeling about it, and it's like, so I had to work on myself to get past that. And this company, they also helped me do that, so it was great. So you can have a tremendous talent in one area, like I had with the dreams, but being able to put yourself out there in front of other people with your gift and using it to help them, getting in front of them and getting people to buy services from you, there is a whole framework for doing that, and it's just not natural. It's not intuitive.
For sure.
It makes sense when you do understand it, but I'd say it took me, I don't know, 2.5 years of training to kind of get that.
Yeah, no, one of the natures of entrepreneurship is your ability to sell yourself.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm still working on. But you want to do it in a way that's honest, but you don't feel like you're bragging. And that's the part that's a bit hard for me. I don't want to feel like I'm overstepping somebody's boundaries, because I genuinely care how I affect other people. So I understand that that sleaziness of that you feel. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I combat with that too. I don't want to feel like, hey, I'm trying to make anyone feel anything that I wouldn't want to feel myself.
Mm.
Well, so Mike, what has like your dream interpretation services look like? What do you provide to your clients, and what are some of the results of your work for them?
Well, we have quite a huge value ladder where, you can do small programs with us, or you can do very big, long programs. And then we have other ones that are very specialist and expensive. But so we have courses from $97 all the way up to $35,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And we didn't start there, but that's part of understanding. The main thing that we do, our $97 course, for instance, is all about helping people understand what their gifts are from their dreams. Like, this is your gift. This is how you're meant to use it. Or maybe there's 2 or 3 gifts. Here's how they work together. And the gifts could be like you're terrific at counseling, or you're able to channel, or you're able to counsel people. And or maybe you have a spiritual leadership gift, where you can help people find the direction they need to go in quite quickly. And you don't necessarily take them on that path, but you say, this is what you need to do, and make it clear for them. So there's lots and lots of different things that we have, but how we're meant to use them and who we're meant to use them with is also revealed in a dream. So we have a course that does that. And then we have another course, the next one up that people usually do is the one where we help you heal childhood trauma. And that's the one I've run for the longest amount of time. Like that, I've run for 33 years. And I think because I got so much benefit out of that myself, when you heal traumas, you become a different person, a very, very different person. And it's weird to think that you can carry an issue like afraid to speak publicly, or afraid to say how you feel, maybe keeping people at a distance or whatever, or you're just not feeling the world is safe, and you control everything because you don't feel the world is safe, and you spoil and ruin relationships because of that. All of those things are shown in your dreams, and they show what you need to do to heal it, and then you get a different life. Even like sticking with relationships, dreams don't show you how to get the right partner, but they show you why you're getting the wrong one. And so the only issue that causes you to get the wrong partner, then everything changes. Your world changes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I did recently have a dream about my ex, and I'm not going to go into it, but it definitely was very revealing. And I'm like, I like that you said that. One thing that you mentioned was you have a $35,000 course, and
right.
That's awesome. I've never heard of that. That's interesting. A lot of people tend to be skeptical about certain online courses because, of course, there's some that are really great, and then there's others that are like,
yeah, but nobody would ever find me and just buy that course. People will buy that course after several years and go, okay, that's what I want to do.
Gotcha.
And it's not really a course. It's a tailored one-to-one, 1 year long sessions with me all the time. But it's just funny how it is and how that came about. Like we teach other classes that are much more affordable, where we teach people how to interpret dreams themselves. Yeah. And a lot of people, like we founded Ashling School, and a lot of people have gone through the school, and they're all working as dream interpreters, in the field and helping other people and getting that fulfillment. It's incredibly fulfilling to help somebody improve their life.
Sure.
No better feeling than that. And so we brought a lot of people through that. And then I was in a mastermind one time, and the host said, as a kind of like, let's think outside the box. And this is what this mastermind was all about. He said, add 2 zeros, I think it was 2 zeros, to your top level offering. What on earth could you possibly put together that you could sell for that price? And of course, my initial reaction was, that's crazy. And but we're doing it. It's just a thought experiment. And then my wife and I, because she's also in the school, we're talking about friends of mine that I've helped and coached over a very long period of time. They're all extremely successful in the spiritual field. And that just seems to be one of the things that comes out of following your dreams for a very long time. Lots of healing, lots of improvements in your life, getting rid of the bad things in your life, including a bad relationship. But then it becomes very kind of spiritual in the sense of these are your gifts. use them to help other people.
Yeah.
And it just ratchets it up. It eventually becomes kind of like exponential. And she said, why don't you put something together at that price that is that? Like, you've done it with, but here's the thing, when you do something with friends, you're not on the hook for anything. It's like, I'm just doing this for fun. You're not even paying me. But I had done it with enough people that it was like, this is possible. So we kind of put it together as an experiment to see, first of all, would there be interest? Now, it wasn't that add the 2 zeros. We didn't do that. But we just a little bit more than doubled what we had and as our other top course. And there was huge interest in it. And to the point where, I can only work with a certain number of people on that, but we work with hundreds of other people on the other levels courses that we do. But for me, again, what do I get out of it? If I'm going to do it, I want to get something out of it too, not just the financial side. And so for me, it's really fun to go really deep into dreams. So in that course, I'll look at the dream, I'll say what it means, and then I will channel on why did they have the dream and what's behind it? What else can you add to it? And that's really exciting,
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and kudos to you for having the confidence to make that. I know it would take me a long time to have the confidence to sell something that large, but if it's providing the value, it's justified.
Oh yeah.
And so this, with that being told, I'm just curious, like, how do you develop the skill of dream interpretation? Because that's not, I don't know many people who even like identify themselves like that, or who talk about that skill set. What does that look like, and how do you interpret other people's dreams? Because I feel like the nature of dreams are very personal and personalized. It's like everyone is different. Everyone has different races. Everyone comes from different parents, different environments. So it's like, how can you interpret someone's dreams, barring that you don't know everything about them?
Yeah. And that's a really good question. And it was one that I would have mocked, the whole idea that you could do what I'm doing. I would have been saying, that's crazy. Nobody can do it. But first of all, I did a lot of classes. I trained in how to do it. And the guy who trained me, he was quite amazing. He was a detective in Scotland Yard, and he used to help people with phobias. He did hypnotherapy. And he noticed that when people would come with the same issues and they would report their dreams, because when you're doing a therapy, your dreams change. So people tend to say, my dreams changed, here's what they are now. And he noticed similarities between people with the same issues and their dreams. And he started building up this, let's say, dictionary of the symbols and their potential meanings. And I was lucky that I came to him like a few decades after he had started his work. And I did all of his classes that I could, and then started taking it further in my own way. But one of the big parts of it is you need to be able to channel, because you're totally right. Anybody can have their own personal association with a particular symbol. For any number of reasons. Like if you've ever been to France and you loved it, then France is going to mean something for you. And if you've ever been there and you got mugged, say, then it's going to mean something different for you,
Yeah.
And if you were born in one country and you're living in another one, that's going to show up in your dreams. Like, your dreams are always going to say, not stick to your culture, but don't deny your culture. They're always going to say, don't deny your culture. But we do a free weekend. In fact, we've one coming up in October 11th to 13th, and we put 3 days on, and we say, from start to finish, here we're going to take you from, here's what dreams symbols are about, here's how to analyze them, and at the end of the weekend, like, you will have a completely different understanding of dreams. You'll definitely be able to look at your own dreams. We do a lot of free things. Our mission is reconnecting people with their light, and so anything that we do, we just run it by that test. Is that what it's doing? And so we do a lot of things. We have our own podcast. We do a lot of webinars and other workshops. And as long as it's meeting that, and one of the things that I realized, I was at one point I was thinking, I'm happy with this type of income, and anything beyond this is greedy, and so on and so on. And then somebody said something to me, and it just made so much sense, that if you want to make an impact in the world and you're stopping your growth at this pace, at this level, because you're happy with that income, but you could reach a lot more people by getting a greater income and hiring a wider team and all that sort of stuff, then that's what you should do. And I never thought of it that way, but it just makes sense. So in your mission, like you do inspiring podcasts. People
Yes.
do inspire. And why do you do it? You're driven to do it. There's something
Yes.
you're like, yeah. But the more successful you are with that, the more
Yeah.
you reach with that, the better fulfillment you're going to get out of it too. But so it was kind of funny. That hit me. And then so we decided to push past a particular level we were at. And that was quite costly. We went through a few years of losing money because
Sure.
we had to hire people and like they had to get paid even if we weren't bringing in enough income. And we got through that. And on the other side of it is just fantastic. Like, so we now have a team of about 10 people
Wow.
in the school. And we've trained a lot more than that. But, it allows us put on bigger and better things and allows us put on events that, have a lot of content in them that people can get for free. And I really love that aspect of it, that we would, and it all feeds in anyway, because if you do a big free event, some of those people will buy other services from you.
Yep.
So it works. But I'm not a fan of these ones where, you do an event and it's just a long, slow advert, just something you have to pay for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, our events we just give you a ton of material because dreams are so personal. There is so much going on.
Sure.
They cover everything about your life and everybody else's life that we know that we can give so much content, because if you do one of our courses, we have tons more content that we can include in them that you're going to love. But I think I digressed from your question. You were saying, how can it be all these things? But what made me think of that event was we counted last time we did that event, there was people from 89 different countries.
Wow.
Speaking many different languages, but their dreams all are exactly the same. And you can interpret anybody's dream from any country in the same way. Of course, you have to allow for personal and cultural differences, but they're pretty obvious in a dream. Wow. It's like our universal language. We dream while still in the womb. And people often then think, okay, if I speak English, why aren't my dreams coming in English? And it's like, well, you were dreaming for 3 years before you were any good at English, and you weren't even good at age 3, So it's like, it's your first language, and eventually you learn how to have a spoken language, and then turn around and go, why don't they speak my spoken? It is the language of our soul. And if you learn to understand what it is, you can learn so much about yourself.
Wow. Interesting. I'm reading a book. I'm sure you heard of the guy by Randy Moss. You heard of Randy Moss?
Robert Moss.
I am so sorry. Yeah, Robert Moss, and it's called Conscious Dreaming. And in the book, he talks about how everyone dreams, but most people just don't recall their dreams, which was interesting to me. And I didn't really understand that. But he's like, literally every night you're dreaming, but you just don't recall them. Is that the case for you?
Oh, that is true. Yeah, they've done enough studies. They know that it's kind of a 90-minute cycle, and just before we have dreams, although they now know we dream all the way across, but we call our dream state the REM state, where we have the rapid eye movement and stuff, and they've done extensive studies on this. Absolutely, everybody dreams. Everybody dreams for about the same amount of time, and the only people who don't dream are people in a coma. So, that's a given. There is one other brain injury you can have that causes you to not dream, but then you have major issues with sleep. But it's really interesting that is the case. Everybody dreams except people in a coma, and everybody has the same level of dreams. And our dreams are kind of like just below conscious waking. So we can be in a deep sleep, but when we're going to have our dreams, our brain activity jumps up. But we disconnect from our motor functions, and that's how they don't look for the rapid eye movement. If they're doing tests in a clinic, they put a pressure switch on your jaw, and when your jaw slackens, they know you're in dream state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that it's interesting to me, because if every single person in the world dreams, it makes me wonder, why isn't that a conversation that happens more? No one really goes and starts talking about dreams. And it's interesting. I think one of the reasons is because a lot of people don't recall their dreams, and I also have issues recalling some of my dreams, and I hate it because sometimes I don't remember the dream specifically, but I remember it well enough to know it's important for me. I'm like, oh damn, I forgot again. And it's just like it's something that has been a reoccurring thing. However, I felt like when I was a child, and I was having dreams, I could remember them more. Now, as an adult, it's like I have to like be more intentional about it and whatnot. So my question to you is, how can people remember their dreams better?
So we have several techniques we share. Like if you're on our list, we send out emails about tips about understanding your dreams, and one of the emails is about how to remember them. And so if you really want to purposely remember one because you want to get a dream analyzed or something like that, there are techniques for doing it. Some easy ones, really easy ones are set your alarm for about an hour before you need to wake up. So have 2 alarms and then go back to sleep. And you're going to have a much lighter sleep in that final hour. And you're more likely to remember your dreams just because you've already had a good deep sleep. Most people who say they don't remember their dreams know that they remember them well on vacation because they're not jumping out of bed. You wake up slowly. And it's that kind of hypnagogic state, they call it, like where you're coming out of the sleep state into the waking state.
Yeah.
If you prolong that, your chance of remembering your dreams are much, much greater. There's other things you can do. You can write on a piece of paper what you're going to have a dream about and that you're going to remember it and put it under your pillow. And it works on a few levels. It's mainly that you're telling your brain, this is what I want, this is what's important. And your mind responds to that. But there are lots of other ways you can do it.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting that you said that because I've been working on trying to remember some dreams just to, I'm very curious to learn more about myself and what my soul is trying to say. And I remember that the dreams I did have, it was kind of weird. I was like sleeping, but like waking up, like, I don't know, it was like weird. It's like, I definitely empathize with what you're saying. Like you kind of do it before you like wake up. Do you want to speak to that state of like kind of in between sleeping and waking and why that kind of allows people to remember their dreams at that moment?
Well, our dreams happen in one part of our brain. Like, so we are mostly left-brained, we're analytical, with thought process, comprehension, all that sort of stuff. But our brain actually works both sides, art, culture, stories, all those things, they all activate the right side of the brain. That's the part that we use to understand them and follow those. And dreams really go into that space. But your conscious mind is on hold. Your logical reasoning abilities are suppressed. So you can have a conversation with an elephant in your dream, and that's absolutely fine. No problem with it. But we tend to like move fast from that sleep state into that conscious mind, mental alertness state. And if we just do it more slowly and try to remember your dreams before you open your eyes even. So you wake up and realize you're awake, keep your eyes closed and think about like, what dreams did I have? What were they? And then run them over in your mind a little bit. Then it's going to be much easier to recall them. But it is interesting that we even have that state.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you go to a hypnotherapist, they're trying to get you into a state that's like sleep, but not sleep, because you're more receptive. You've shut off that logical reasoning. And that part like serves us well in the day. It's like, don't turn, somebody's running the light, that kind of thing. Yeah. But if you want to make changes in your life, it also stands on guard and tries to block us from changing and block us from growing, because the view of the subconscious mind, which is where all the programming is that almost any change is bad. And it's trying to prevent us from experiencing traumas that we've already experienced. And so it's just like a faithful dog in a way, trying to protect us. And if we try to deal with it and heal it and do the various things, we have to do it in ways that get past that guard dog that is like, I'm not going to let this happen. So there are ways to do it, many ways to do it. And the language of symbols is one, which is why dreams come that way.
Yeah. There's, you mentioned that there's 2 parts of the brain. There's the left brain and then there's the right brain. Just to make sure I'm understanding, the left brain is the more logical side of you. The right brain is the more emotional. That's so interesting that you said that, because as I kind of feel like I have 2 conflicting sides of me. I have this very logical, analytical, like I play chess, like and then I have this like desire to be more creative with this podcast and other endeavors. I am a pharmacist, logical, like I am a real estate investor, very logical, business oriented, but yet I have this deep desire to be more creative, and I feel like that's where my purpose lies. I believe this podcast is one of my purposes. I also have a YouTube channel where I talk about sickle cell, and I'm very creative with that. Right. And I have a very strong desire to be creative. And I feel like that's like a whole nother part of my brain that I've been working to manifest. How can someone improve that other side of their brain? You know what I'm saying? Or be more open to it?
Well, from a dreams perspective, our dreams will show us where we have imbalances. And so what would make you very logical? Like we all want to create, it's no matter what we're doing, there's an awful lot of creative force used in our life. And we're unique in how we use our own creative forces too. But your dreams are going to show the issues that cause you, say, if you're logical and you doubt yourself or have fears about doing something. And you would already know this because you would have to overcome some of those to get this far in our podcast. I give you 107 videos or something like that.
Yes.
That's a lot of videos.
Yeah.
Most podcasts die around about 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Most people get.
That's true.
And so you're going to hit things and you're going to have to find some way to get past these barriers.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about dreams is they show you why the barrier is there, what caused it in the first place. And so it's like, this is the barrier. Usually here's the parent that, say for instance, if it's a confidence issue, it's going to be a masculine energy. That's typically dad, but it doesn't have to be. It can be mom. If mom is masculine in her energy and causes you to doubt yourself, not believe in yourself, all that sort of stuff, then the dreams are saying you got to work on this issue and work on it from this age with this parent, and that's going to fix that problem. It's going to heal that problem. And then you're going to find that you have the ability to take risks. Somebody whose masculine energy is balanced, they feel safe in the world, safe to the point that they're almost like Bear Grylls. You can drop them anywhere on the planet and they'll be okay. They will never feel like, oh, I'm in trouble. I need all my trinkets and things around me in order for life to be okay. Yeah. So strong masculine energy allows you to take risks because you have the resources within you to do whatever it takes or whatever you need to do to survive in the world. And I don't mean that in a like I'm barely going to survive. Is like risks are enjoyable.
Yeah. Like life, we're all, a lot of us fear uncertainty. I have my boss with it, but uncertainty and risk makes life a lot more exciting. If we knew what we're gonna do every single day, like life would be so boring. Hence why, we risk make life a lot more interesting. So I agree with you. And you're constantly mentioning masculine and feminine energy, and I'm so curious to just learn a little bit more about that. And I'm also curious to learn, do you feel like more women are interested in dreams or open
Absolutely.
to talking about it?
Yep.
Yeah, because the reason why I ask this is I've noticed that when I do talk about dreams, it's women who get really excited about it are a lot more open to it. Men, I feel like it's hard. It's a weird thing. It's like, I don't usually talk to men about this. It's women who get really excited about the concept of dreams. And I've noticed they're the ones who are more vulnerable to talk about it, Yeah.
So even in our classes, 80 to 85% are going to be women. And we have many classes, in fact, where it's all women. It just is a feature.
Yeah.
Women are willing to work on themselves. Women, feminine energy is also about forgiveness and letting go and compassion. And so they're much more willing to look at themselves and say, I need to change, and I'm willing to do what it takes to change. Masculine energy, also one of the things that it has is independence and feeling like I have to do this myself. It's all on me. And so because of that, men are a lot less likely to look at themselves and say, I need expert help. They're going to try to do it now. And we know women get mad because men won't stop and ask for directions.
Yeah.
That's gone now because of Google Maps. But it's just, we're baked differently.
Sure.
And so if you ever read the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, like it's an amazing book. And it talks about the differences in our hardwiring. But it's just, women are much more open. They're receptive. They listen. They don't try to solve problems if you're talking to them. Whereas a man talking to another man, I'm only going to talk to you about my car because I think you're a car expert and you're going to tell me what the problem is with my car.
Yeah.
That's the way guys are. And so we don't tend to come out with our issues and stuff. Now we're different. In therapy, it can be fine because this is what it is and this is the space and this is an expert and I'm paying this person for the help. But men are just a lot less likely to look for outside help to solve a problem because masculine energy, in a way, is when it's not balanced, is kind of selfish too. Like there's positive strengths and negatives with each of the energies.
Yeah.
And so if my masculine energy is very balanced, I can be very supportive. I can help other people. I can do all these other things. If it's not, I can be very controlling. Whether I'm a man or a woman, I can be really controlling. I can hold people back. I don't feel the world is safe. And so the extreme of that is if I control everything in my environment, including my partner and my kids, then the world is safe, you know. But of course it isn't. The issues on the inside, the lack of safety comes from the inside, and you have to look in and fix that. But the energies are so different, and men tilt into the masculine much more than women.
Yeah, there's also something like massively, at least for me, illogical about the nature of dreams. It's hard to rationalize it and really make sense of it. And I feel like I'm a very, very, very intuitive person. However, when it comes to intuition, there's really no logic attached to it. And I feel like most women are intuitive in nature. You know, we know that term, like a mother's intuition or a woman's intuition. Like it's pretty strong. They don't even, like, they can't really explain it, which can often drive men crazy when the women are talking about their feelings. But like they're very intuitive people, and I feel like that's a feminine part of me that I tend to follow a lot. However, I can't really explain it, and so I'm curious. Is that something that men should own, embrace, or like is that what do you think about?
It's beneficial. It's beneficial to both sexes, of course. In dreams, intuition shows up as like glass windows or glass doors, candles or lamps or the moon, silver coins, that kind of thing. There are lots of things that show it up, and our intuition is our connection with our higher self, and so when you get information on that connection, and you get that information usually when your heart is well healed, you have a really good connection there. You're able to be compassionate and create spaces, safe spaces for others. It doesn't have to be there, but it's better if it is there, and your intuition is going to work stronger. And it always gives you positive advice. And the advice could be stay away from that person. You know, they're not going to do you any good. Or it can be like, this is somebody that's super important, whatever it is. Well, you get that through that connection, but because you're getting it through your higher self, that it feels like you're just getting it out of nowhere. You know, whereas if you're channeling and talking to another spirit, you could say, well, my guide told me this, or, you know, this person in the room told me that. Well, with that intuitive connection, it feels a little bit strange because there's nobody to point to. It's just like, I know this and I know it's true, and I don't know how I know it's true. But you can definitely develop that skill. You can do it enormously. And in fact, you do that by working on issues around mom, if you have them. That working on those things greatly improves it.
Yeah. And so I'm very curious to learn about the nature and origin of dreams. You know, they're so interesting to me and fascinating when people talk about them, when people share them. Even my dreams I find pretty interesting. Where do dreams come from? You know?
So they are a message from your higher self to your soul. So it's like, who's driving you? What is the animating force within you?
Yeah.
And, you know, you're a Christian, Bible reading Christian, so you accept that we have a soul.
Yeah.
I often ask in the classes, I will do it in a trick way. I'll say, do you agree you have a soul? Everybody says yes. And the trick is you don't have a soul, you are a soul. That's the immortal part of you that lives on when your body dies.
Yeah.
And we often associate ourselves with our thoughts and what's in our brain and all these things, and just connect from our soul quite a bit, you know. But our dreams are a message from our higher self to our soul, and our higher self is aware of our mission, what we're meant to be doing in our life, how we're meant to be healing ourselves. Like, we have simple things. We have simple missions like learn to love yourself, learn to be more confident, learn to believe in yourself. Now, you wouldn't have all of those, but you would have something simple like that. But then you will also have a gift. Everybody has at least one gift. And you're meant to use that gift to help other people, no matter what, regardless of what it is. You're meant to use it. And so our dreams are saying to us, here's how on track you are with your life purpose. This is what you're meant to be doing. And here's where you stand. And so if you're far behind where you're meant to be, you can have dreams of being late, like missing class or missing the train, missing the bus, missing connections. So it's quite interesting that we can see where somebody is from looking at their dreams, what their mission is, what their gifts are, how they're meant to be using them. But all of that is encoded in there, you know, but it's encoded at our soul. It's aimed at our soul. So when we interpret it, we then know what our soul's mission is. And the more in alignment we get with our soul, like the more whole we feel. you know. So it's ultimately, that's the point. The stronger the connection you make, the more you're going to shine your inner light, and that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
Get closer to God through removing the obstacles that cause you not to see your own wonderful value.
Yeah. The reason why I connect so much with the Bible, the Joseph story in the Bible, is because I personally believe that God speaks to people through dreams. I really believe that.
Absolutely.
And for me, I'm, as a Christian, I'm all about trying to listen to God's words, because I feel like He all wants us to win. So that's why for me it's so important to get in tune with my higher self, because I really I wanna make sure I'm here to do my purpose. And so it's interesting that you said that, because since I was a young kid, I've always dreamed about public speaking. I just always did. I literally did, and I'm trying to manifest that in more ways. Podcasting is by far the first step. But I would literally look at Martin Luther King. I was like 8 years old. I'm like, whoa, this guy is so cool. He's talking to like the whole world. Like, I swear, I was like 7. I'm just like always thinking, I'm like, this guy is so cool. I want to do that one day. My dad was also a public speaker too for his church. Me and my dad just be incredible, charismatic. And I'm always like, I want to be like my dad, because he can lead people and speak so well. And every time I look at public speakers, I'm always in awe of them. And so, I feel like that's one of my purposes to do, and I'm honing that skill. But when we talk about like finding your higher self through your dreams, why do you feel like people don't, especially men, why do you feel like men don't acknowledge that often?
I don't know that they don't. It's just, it's not an interest, And one of the great things about dreams is everybody dreams. So even the skeptics will kind of watch a show where somebody's talking about dreams, because they're like, let's see what this idiot says.
Yeah.
Because it might be entertaining. It might say something about one of their dreams or whatever. So I'm lucky that that's the field, compared to many other things where people take convincing to say there's method in it. I think what's really interesting about dreams is the fact that we have them at all.
Yeah.
We all know we have them. And it's like, why do we have so many dreams throughout our life? What is the purpose of that? There has to be something more to it. And I think a lot of people at different times in their lives, they do look at it and they go, what does it mean?
Yeah.
But there's so much junk out there about dreams. There are so many books that are badly written. And because everybody dreams, dream dictionaries are a huge seller, in bookshops. Now it's online, and how do you prove that what somebody is saying is accurate or not accurate? And so in our case, what we do is, like, we have a free dream clinic that we do the first Tuesday of every month, and people will tell me their dreams. I will then channel on it, and I'll say, here's what it's about. Here's what it means. Here's what's going on in your life. And I put my neck on block, knowing that if I get it wrong, somebody's going to jump on me, But I don't, if I'm getting it wrong, I'll know I'm getting it wrong, because I can channel and they'll tell me you haven't got it. I just stick with it until they say, this is what it is. And so it's fascinating. And when people see that, they're like, okay, this is cool. This makes sense. And then they might try me out with one of their own dreams, But I can understand why people have lost interest, because what we do get a lot of people in our courses, they say, I bought 6 or 7 books about dreams. I could make no sense of them. Yeah. And I got turned off for about 15 years and I'm only just back. People do look, but then they give up.
Yeah. So how do you go about approaching skeptics? Because I honestly, like, even that left brain on me is still like there. And like 5-6 years ago, honestly, I wouldn't even be open to stuff like this. I'm like, like, what this is some bullshit. Like, oh, just keep talking about dreams. Like, come on, what the hell is this? Like, I'm just being honest. So I'm like, how do you approach skeptics who like when about dreams? Yeah,
I could totally relate to that, because I was there. Before I started seeing spirits, I was like, everybody who works in this field is a charlatan. For the money, and people give you readings. They can look up stuff, they can find out stuff, and all that sort of stuff. I had mad reasons. I even had in my mind, I would say, they can read your mind or whatever. But they can read your mind. That's an amazing talent. Anyway. No, I've tremendous time for skeptics, because I was a skeptic, and I don't try to convince skeptics at all. But I will absolutely have no problem interpreting a dream for a skeptic and letting them see how it works or doesn't work,
Yeah.
But it took something as big as what it did for me to open my eyes and see that there was more, or even though I didn't know what it was, I just knew there was more. And for some people, they don't need to have their eyes open. Like in our dreams, we understand what they mean. So our soul fully understands the language and it responds. It's a dialogue. It's not just a dream that's stating one thing. We are responding in the dream. We're saying why we don't want to do something or why we will do something. And all of that is in there. And so we don't really need to analyze dreams to still have them guide us in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is if you do analyze them, then you can go at an exponential rate, because you can look at the things that are blocking you from doing what your mission is and say, okay, I'm going to heal that. I'm going to fix that. And then I'm going to, 7 weeks later, after I heal this major, major issue, the world is a different world for me altogether, because I no longer have the limitations that I had. So it's basically, it comes down to this. We have a paradigm view from childhood. We believe the world is the way it is based on how mom and dad are. And we have no interest in any other people. Mom is the only woman that we care about. Dad is the only man we care about.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter if there's 100 other men in the room, dad's the one we want. If there's 100 other women, she's the one we want. We give no mind to anybody else whatsoever. And so our sample size in the world is 2 people, even though the world is a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we develop our views and our paradigm view of the world from those 2 people, way before we can ever even talk. We decide it's a loving world if mom loves us, and we decide it's a safe world if dad supports us. And, so if those things don't happen, or they don't happen to some degree, then we pick up some issues. Of course, we're meant to pick them up. But that's the point of life is we have that paradigm view. And then if we want to do something later, that's a limitation on what we're able to do. So if I don't believe the world is loving, or I want to find a partner, I'm never going to find a partner who loves me. Because I have this paradigm view in my mind, whether it's subconscious or not, it's in my mind. And I don't believe the world is loving, that there's loving people in the world. If I want to get a relationship where I am loved, I have to work on what caused me to have that paradigm view. And so working on the issues with mom delves into our subconscious, roots out that belief system, and then we can go back to looking at our relationships. And it's not like the world changes around us, but our perception of the world changes. And the people that we find attractive changes, not the traits in any way, but if you're healed to 80%, you're going to be attracted to a woman who's healed at 80%. That your partner, whatever gender, is going to be attracted to the same amount of light that you have. And so the more you work on yourself, the more you heal, the better the world's going to appear to you, even though it's the same world, because things are different. The obstacles that you have in your mind that block you from being able to create certain things, they're gone. And so now they get created. They happen and they come easily. It's a very simple system. And what I love about dreams is they draw the dots. So you don't need to understand it yourself. You can look at your dreams and go, okay, this dream is drawing this health issue back to this issue at an earlier time in my life. So if I work on this, it's going to help my health. And it will. It does,
Yeah, I'm curious to also learn about the nature and feeling of dreams. Sometimes when I dream, or I'll wake up like remembering like a thought or an image, is often like the last thing I was thinking of last night. And I didn't know. I'm curious, because dreams aren't talked about enough. I'm like, is that normal? Because sometimes I'll be thinking about like some type of real estate business, and then then it kind of like transfers into my dream, and then I'm just like trying to get my properties. Like, can you talk about that? I'm very curious to learn about that.
So our dreams are built up from the events of the day or the past few days. So our dreams will pull symbols in from our environment, from the experiences that we've had, but they're kind of used as a backdrop. So it's how they're all interconnected. What's different about it? So people will say, well, I watched a horror movie and then I had a nightmare. So that's just common sense.
Yeah.
And I ask them, I say, well, what did you watch? And they say, I watched Frankenstein. And what did you dream about? Well, I dreamt about Dracula. Well, okay, we can still look at the dream because we can look at the differences because you didn't have Dracula in the movie.
Yeah.
And so that's going to mean something. And it's the same with all the other things. There's going to be partial elements in your dream that are just pulled in as kind of like the backstory or the place to hold the symbols. But if something's different in it, then you look at that difference. So if you're dreaming that you're in your office, but the desk is in a different location, or there's somebody there, that we can ignore the office part and we can look at, okay, why is that other thing happening in the dream? So there's always going to be elements of your waking life in your dreams. And sometimes, and this is where channeling comes in again, you ask, does it still hold? So if you're a musician and you dream of playing music,
Yeah.
then it could be that you're a channel, which is what music is about, or it could be simply just there because that's so important in your life. But you can channel on a dream and ask, does the normal meaning still hold for this person? And if it does, then you just apply it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, oftentimes for me, like, because I'm very intuitive. Every time I dream about something, or like I wake up in the morning and like like whether it's a girl or a business or some type of important person in my life, and the first thing I wake up with is that thought. I always follow my intuition to just
All right,
put it on it.
Yeah.
My question is, what happens? Is it a problem if people don't pay attention to that, or is like is there a consequence, or is it any problem following that?
The consequence is that your life goes slower. So if your intuition is telling you, hey, this is important, follow up on it, then that's what you do. So it's like your higher self is saying to you, hey, go get a cup of coffee in this place that you don't normally go to, but you've wondered about it for a little while, go there. And they're also saying to somebody else who's important for you to meet to go to that same place. Mm-hmm. And you're never going to have that encounter if you ignore those suggestions from your higher self or your dreams, Yeah. And so they will work around it. It's not like, oh, that was a one-shot deal. You're never going to get to meet this person. But things move faster for you if you do listen to your intuition, because then you get skilled at telling whether it's just something you're putting in your own head or no, this really feels important.
Yeah. And so, as men who we tend to be more wired on a rational perspective, how can we tell when to follow our intuition versus like actually just being logical? Because that's something I'm still, man, it's weird. I'm always like, I follow my intuition, but I'm like, it just sounds weird. Why the hell am I doing this? It's like it's still a constant battle. Like all the creative acts that I'm doing, the podcast, it's like, well, this isn't really making me money, but it feels right. But what does it feel right? And women love that because they're like, they always feel, but I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thing, and I'm still battling with that. How can men be better with that?
Well, that's one of the curses of being a man. Men are not as good at that. They're logical. We run things down and say, I'm not going to follow my feelings. In fact, it's a weakness when it isn't, So if you follow your intuition, but not in a fear state, like I know I need to do this because if I don't do this, this bad thing will happen. That's never going to be your intuition. Your intuition is always going to be positive. It's always going to feel positive. Like even if it was a negative situation, like I got to get out of this and I'm going to lose money. When it comes to your intuition, it's like, this is a blessing that I know this, that I'm going to get out of this. So the way to tell whether you should follow it or not is it has to feel good. It's like not just there's going to be a consequence if I don't do it.
So usually, like, I guess if your intuition is more faith driven and more positive, then that's a good sign to follow it.
More, positive for sure. Absolutely, for sure. And if you're more open, like if you said faith driven, just the fact that you're open and saying, I'm willing to get a sign.
Yeah.
Then you're more likely going to notice it when you get it.
Yeah. No, I love that. And so, I mean, I'm definitely learning a lot about the nature of dreams and how it works. And I'm curious, like, because you've dealt with so many dreams and so many people. What's the most interesting or impactful dream you've experienced, and what effect did it have on you, or from another person?
Well, I can't think of the most impactful one. They definitely come in there's an accumulative benefit from looking at your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
But a single dream can really change people. Like I when I met my now wife, I was at a doctor's office and the receptionist shared a dream with me, and I told her what it meant. And it lifted a depression that she'd had for 10 years. Wow. And the doctor, she's now married to the doctor in the place, but she wasn't then. He was like stunned. He was like, I bet you that's never happened before. And I was saying, this always happens. Because dreams resonate. An accurate dream interpretation will resonate with the dreamer because it comes from the dreamer. So when somebody tells you, here's what it really means, that's true. And so in her case, one dream was enough to lift her out of it. And it's hard to think how you can have something that drags behind you and on you as a cloud for so long, when the answer to it is in your dreams the whole time. I think a lot of the time people feel seen. Here's what the dream means, and your guides and your higher self and God are aware of the plight. They're aware of your struggle. They're aware that for a lot of people, even just knowing that is huge, because they feel like I've been overlooked, or I'm invisible, or I'm whatever. So I think there's a lot of benefits in many different ways.
So if that's the case, like, because do you believe that, do dreams predict the future? Is that like it?
Yeah. Anything behind you in a dream is the past, and anything in front of you is the future. So many dreams will predict what's going to happen in your future by something in front of you. And so if you're driving in a dream and there's an accident around the corner, there's not going to say the dream doesn't mean you're going to get into an accident, but there's some karmic event that's going to happen in your future, not too far away, because it's just around the corner. We have that expression. Some people, though, do have the ability to have dreams that show future events, precisely how they're going to happen. And they're able to, they can learn to tell those from their other dreams, because there's a feeling that is pervasive with those dreams. It feels like a tight band around your waist, like an elastic band around your waist, or around your head in some people's cases. And so if you have that feeling, then it's a dream that is exactly how it's going to happen, which is really good to know, because, we can have many dreams. For instance, you dream of your mom dying, and it just simply means you need to let some negative influence from mom not impact something in your life today. And that's what those dreams kind of say, what would you do differently if mom wasn't here? It's not really saying your mom's going to die, but that's what it says. If she wasn't in the picture, what would you do? And so if you can, if you have prophetic dreams and you can tell the difference between a symbolic one and a prophetic one, it can really relieve you.
Wow. Yeah, I was watching a video about Abraham Lincoln. Apparently, before he died, he dreamed about dying, which was really interesting, kind of scary to me.
Well, he did do something very bold that was, but I know I'm in trouble with a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, definitely what he did with freeing the slaves definitely wasn't super popular with everybody. I thought it was interesting that he was able to dream about it, or at least have some airy feeling. I'm curious. What do you make of that? Like,
Yeah, well, I know enough people that do have prophetic dreams, and they do happen the way they say, and to the point where, like, I did a presentation about prophetic dreams. I've done a couple, and in one of them, this lady gave a dream, and she's in Seattle, and there's a Ferris wheel in Seattle, and she goes to her friend's apartment on a particular street, and it's on the top floor. When she had that dream, the Ferris wheel didn't exist in Seattle, and that apartment block wasn't even built, and now she is friends with the woman who owns that particular apartment at the top of the apartment.
Wow.
And there's lots of other things that are not good in her dream, but it's really spooky to see how much we can be told in advance about what's going to happen in our lives. And then it should come back to, like, if we can be told anything in advance, anything, who's telling us it?
Yeah.
Does it mean that there is purpose to my life?
Yeah.
And it really does. It means there is a lot of purpose. If somebody can say, this is what's going to happen because I have mapped out your life, I have mapped out the path, or you have, let's say, it's amazing. I think the idea of it is really to open your mind to, there's a greater power in life than just us.
Yeah.
If you can tap into that, it's amazing.
No, the power of that clairvoyance for me is incredibly fascinating. I don't understand it. I don't get it, but it always seems to be some type of intuitive truth coming from some type of higher power, that doesn't make any sense, but it seems to define the boundaries of time and whatnot. Because one thing that's somewhat interesting is, like, it's not only the dreams, but how long it takes for the dream to occur and manifest. Sometimes, like, you can have a dream and then like 2 days later, you see some type of correlation. Or then you can have another dream and it manifests as like 10 or 15 years. And so it seems to have no type of relationship with time, which also seems to be the nature of creativity. And it's just it's very interesting to me. One thing
I noticed with prophetic dreams is people usually get told like 2 or 3 events, but nearly always 2. And the idea then is when the first one in the dream happens, you then know that the second thing's going to happen. So, like my daughter, she had a dream where Carrie Fisher died, and they had just made the new Star Wars back then. And then her daughter's father died. And so she had that dream with both those things in it.
Wow.
Like, what on earth is that? Like, that's the weirdest thing ever. Why would I even dream of Carrie Fisher?
Yeah.
And then about 5 weeks later, Carrie Fisher did die.
Wow.
And she just looks at me and she goes, that means my partner's going to die. And he did. 3 days after Carrie Fisher.
Wow. Yeah.
And it really blows your mind, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd say my curiosity just goes on, like, why did she get the dream? Why did the dream happen? I just start have so many questions. I don't know. It's interesting. But as a Christian believer, I just feel like it comes from God. You know, that's what I mark it up to. But it's very fascinating. So Michael, I'm so thankful for your time. You know, before you leave, is there anything that you feel like your higher self would like to tell the audience, or leave some advice with?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's kind of cool. This is Mike and Ike.
Yeah, Mike and Ike. Yeah, I love that candy. It's one of my favorite candies. Yeah,
but yeah, realize that the obstacles in our life, the things that we rail against, are meant to be there. And if you can look at life from the perspective of how can I grow? How can I use these issues in my life that I really don't like? How can I use them as a catalyst for growth rather than moaning about the fact that they're there? Because there's a way to overcome them that like makes you grow as a person. And it's not like the obstacle goes away, but it can never be an obstacle to you anymore because you've become such a stronger person. Mm-hmm. And that's the point of it. That's part of the grow your own talents. And what's on the other side of it is always something great, you know, a gift, a better relationship, a better career, or whatever it is, better health. They're always on the other side of that. So, and we know it, but we sometimes don't realize it's the way it's designed to be.
Yeah, I love that. I know as I've gotten older and wiser, I feel like I don't want to say life gets harder. I only get stronger, and as a result, everything feels lighter. That's how I'm trying to look at life, and I that's what you're saying reminded me of that. And so, Mike, thank you for that. And if anyone who might be interested in dream work or the services you provide, how can people reach out to you?
It's very easy. dream-analysis.com. That's our website address. And anything we do is on there, including like hundreds of podcasts. We have a radio show in Seattle that we turn into a podcast. We've been running that for 10 years. So there's a lot of content and information on our website.
Okay. Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Yeah.